are now entering Female Founder World with your host, Jasmine Garnsworthy.
We have Sara Panton, the co-founder of Vitruvi, on the show today. And first of all, welcome to the show. Hi, it's so great to see you.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here and see you. I'm such a fan.
Thank you. Just to give people a bit of context, you are a category leader in air care, which is such an interesting category and trend in itself that I definitely want to talk about. You've been building the business since 2015. You have more than 400 stockists across the country, and you're in places like West Elm and CB2, Sephora, Nordstrom, literally everywhere. And so that's just like
not everywhere yet.
Okay,
soon
almost everywhere, soon to be everywhere.
Yeah.
All of these things I just share so that people can have a touch point to understand, you know, where you're at and kind of your founder story at the moment. What have I missed? What do people need to know about what you're doing at Vitruvi for context?
I think you nailed it. Yeah.
Awesome.
I think you got it.
Amazing. Okay, so let's start right at the beginning. Where did this idea for an essential oil business come from? What were you launching with as your first products? Talk me through the early days.
Yeah. So early days, it was a Tumblr account. It was content. I was really interested in the clean beauty movement and clean living movement. Grew up in a farm and around, a mom and dad that cared about natural products. So it was an interview site where I interviewed people about their daily rituals and the natural products they used and how that sort of propelled them to do great work. And then kind of coincidentally learned about how toxic the air care industry was and fragrances and perfumes. I had suffered from some hormonal imbalances around the time that I was 13 and learned about what endocrine disruptors are. And so I was aware of the way that your products can affect your body at a young age. And so when I learned about parabens and phthalates and synthetic fragrances and air care and thinking about how we were breathing it in, I was like, oh, let's make a natural version of this. And so the company started in my kitchen with my brother and I, building products. And it was right around the time that the clean beauty movement was starting. So we were seeing retailers like Sephora and Nordstrom and Goop be category leaders in wellness. And I was a part of the Sephora Accelerate program, the first clean air care brand at Nordstrom, at Goop, and what have you. And so it was really just us finding this yucky industry and making cleaner, better products.
So when you talk about air care, just to give people like a little bit more understanding, what are some of those legacy brands that were kind of dominating the space when you were getting started?
Yeah, so think of Febreze, Airwick, Glade, those companies, most of them started in the 1940s and the formulations haven't changed. And they're putting toxic fragrances and chemicals in the air that we then breathe in our homes. And so we take a different approach, a natural approach, and also an approach of self-expression where we're not masking odors in the home, but our customers care about who they are and how that's expressed in their homes and their spaces. And so just like the art on the wall or the couch pillows that we choose and the throw that maybe you save up for from Anthropology, the way your home smells and the scent of it says something about who we are or who you are. So our customers shop seasonally for aroma and they're looking for luxurious, sophisticated, dynamic aromas that are a reflection of who they are as a person. And traditional incumbents just haven't been able to do that.
When you first launched, were you launching with a full kind of suite of essential oil blends? Did you launch with one product? Like, what did that look like?
So we launched with personal care first. So it was like roll-on products, natural products. And first learning was, I'm sorry, my dog is in my office, so she makes a noise. I'm sorry, she just coughed. And so first learning at the company was we actually had launched with paper labels on an oil product. So they quickly started disintegrating.
Yep, I've tried that
off
too.
Of the bottles So hopefully we both saved people some heartache there.
Don't do that.
That's the first mess up, the first of thousands of mess ups that I've made in the last 7 years. So it started as personal fragrance and personal natural, and then we evolved the collection through a suite of innovation.
And now you also have the beautiful stone diffusers. I have two in my home now. So when did that kind of get added to the product lineup, and what made you think that was a logical next product to launch?
It was when we had enough money to get them,
Yeah.
to make them. Yeah. So it's just, you have to start where you are, right? Like, even if you have a vision of X, Y, and Z, it's like we couldn't even afford the components pre-put together. So we had to buy each individual component of our first products in a hand, put them together in the evening, and then pretend to be the sales team during the day. And then we were production. So we were like hand making products for Nordstrom, which was probably totally not to code.
That is amazing. I feel like there are definitely some people nodding their heads listening to this, like, yeah, we also handmade our first products as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, exactly.
So how are you getting those first customers, both the wholesale orders and also the D2C business? Before we were chatting, you said that the business is like, roughly a 50-50 split between e-com and wholesale. Has it always been that way? Like, what were you doing in the early days to kind of grow both of those channels?
Yeah, and I mean, we've always been omni-channel, but not because it was fancy and a strategy, but because it was like this a necessity to the company.
Yeah.
So the core of the business and the foundation of the business was built on our boutique business. So these are sort of lots of them are female-run stores. They're a discovery point for customers. They're where you go to buy a cool gift for a friend, and they would pay before we shipped. So it was basically just going through the coolest stores in every city, sending them a line sheet, putting together our opening order, and then shipping it out to them. And that became landing a few of those key accounts. One was volume and sales into the business, but it was where the larger stores were looking to trend spot. And so I can name on a hand 5 boutique stores that were small stores run by incredible women that became champions of the brand, where Nordstrom and Sephora and Goob and Anthropologie discovered us.
Ooh, tell me about those stores. Like, what are some of the ones that you think those big retailers are looking at for discovery and for trends?
I mean, this is 7 years ago, so
Yeah.
it may have moved on, but a great example was I was living in New York for a few months, and there was this store in the West Village that had kind of like papers up on the windows, like it was being built, and it said something like "better for you," "natural," "beauty," something. So I emailed the email that was on the sign, and it ended up being Cap Beauty in the West Village. I don't know if you
Yeah.
know Cap Beauty, but I met the 2 founders in a basement down the street, and they were surrounded by boxes. It was like truly a basement, like walked under, and I pitched them like on the spot. And we were one of the first brands at Cap Beauty, and that's where a lot of these other retailers were looking. So I think it's important to listen to your customer and get into doors where you can have a dialogue with the shop owner, the store owner. And because we didn't launch with funding, and because we just had to grow and learn as we developed, it created in the company this feedback loop that is kind of ingrained in who we are today. And listening to our stores, listening to our store owners, listening to our customers has really helped our product pipeline and development and how we build things.
And am I right in thinking in those early days, it was literally you putting together the deck for the retailers, doing the outreach and the sales? Like, was that all?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was, yeah. Okay. And since then, do you work with the distributor? Like, how is your wholesale business run now?
So our wholesale business is completely in-house, and we are just for the first time bringing on a distributor for our Canadian business. About 80% of our business is in the US, but we have a ton of great growth in Canada. And so we are bringing on someone to help distribute it across Canada.
Okay. And are you mostly like Canadian and US? Are you selling internationally? How are you thinking about that?
We sell a little bit internationally. I mean, at the beginning, we would just ship to whoever wanted to buy it, which ended up being a very expensive strategy. So we did have quite a few shops in Australia. And right now, we are in a few stores in Europe and Australia. And about 10%, 8 to 10% of our online traffic is international. And we do offer shipping options, but it hasn't been a full strategy filled out yet.
Okay. All right. So I feel like people have like a pretty good picture about what you're doing, where you're at, how you started. I want to drill into some like really specific marketing moments, some things that have like worked for you as you've been growing the business. And if there's anything, whether it's a specific channel, whether it's what your funnel looks like, something that you think has really like propelled the business forward that you think other people should look at.
Yeah, I think Two. So one, and I know everyone's business is different. So I always start with like, take everything I say with a grain of salt, because I've had so many people give me advice from industries that are just not applicable that I used to believe.
That's
And
great advice in itself.
just,
Yeah.
I don't, do you find that? Like, it's just,
Yeah.
everyone's a hero. And then you figure out what they did and you're like, you actually have no clue, but you just
Yeah.
sound really
Yeah.
confident. So take all of this as just my lived experience.
Yeah.
I think two big differences. I was actually talking to a girlfriend about this this weekend who runs a furniture business, and I think the thing that made it easier for us, or not easy, easier for us, was having a hero product that was just all we talked about. Anytime there was press, anytime there was a gift guide, that was our hero product, and that was the one product that people could sort of start to associate to the company. And then secondarily was our affiliate program, which was built completely organically. We are a team of people with, when we were starting with not a ton of experience, but we just, again, listened to our customer. And so the affiliate program was built out of our customer experience team. And it was just people that became brand advocates. And then we put a code together and it grew. And now it's hundreds of affiliates that are champions of the brand. But again, it's a feedback loop to us in terms of what's popular, what are they looking for. They're spending way more time on a phone than I ever could get away with in a day, looking at trends, knowing what's next. And so those two pieces of the business have been, I think, the most critical moments in our growth.
Okay, I want to talk about both of those, but let's start with the hero product. First of all, what is the hero product, or what was the hero product that you kind of like going back to and talking, just so people understand?
Yeah, so our hero product was the White Stone diffuser. And
I have that.
that is the product that you perfect. Yeah. So you got it, right? Yeah. And so that's when I would do press events and talk to editors, that is just the product we would always gift. So helping to share the narrative around the product that you want to be known for, because people are busy and simple and you just need that one piece that they can sort of add to it. So one scent and one aroma.
I hear this strategy a lot from different brands that are successful, is that they launch with that one hero product, or that they tell their story around one hero product, and like everything else is like complementary to it, which I think is really interesting. And I'm hearing it again and again and again. What makes a good hero product? Like what should a founder be thinking about when they're like, this is the product that tells our story, or this is the product I should launch with?
The customer tells you. That's it. I mean, when we launched Vitruvi, it was built for men. And now 90% of our customers identify as women.
It was built for men?
So you just have to listen. Yeah, it was built as like a life hacking scent, better for you, you scent. Our first press was in Details magazine in GQ.
Oh my God. Okay. Wow.
So you know what I mean? Like, you just need to listen. The customer's going to tell you. You have to be curious. And I think, we knew that was an interesting product because it got like a little bit of buzz, but even just from friends and family. Like if people, I believe authentic listening is a superpower. And if you actually listen to the person in front of you and listen to the tone of the voice and how their pitch changes, you can understand, if you have a product suite of skincare in front of them, the product they ask the most questions about. Like, sometimes it's nuanced and simple, but the customer will always tell you what they're most interested in. And so we just leaned into that.
That's so
interesting. And then what made it a differentiator.
That's so interesting, because I'm going, we were speaking about this before the call, and I have this skincare business called The Buff, and it's small. We have a little bit of a retail presence, but mostly online. And I'm at this point now where I'm kind of figuring out, okay, is this just going to be like a small little thing? I know that the products and the formulas are good. Or like, how do we grow this, or how do we kind of change the story, or change that we're really rooted in jojoba oil, everything sourced from inland from the Byron Bay area in Australia, which is like a really beautiful region, and the farms are beautiful. And so I'm thinking, okay, do we expand out on jojoba personal care? Is that what it looks like? And I just think like what you're saying about, listening to the customers and trying to get that feedback it does seem like a really obvious thing, but I think it's also difficult to distill. It can be difficult to distill exactly what they're trying to say, because I do think a lot of the time folks are trying to make you feel better about something, or they don't want to, if they are like connected with the brand, or they connected with you on social media, they don't want to necessarily always give you super honest feedback.
You just have that, like, yeah, I'm
Tell
sorry to
me.
cut you off, but like people will do that because they're excited for you, right? They're
Yeah.
celebrating, they're like, oh my gosh, I love it, I love it. And then I always go, okay, if you had to change 3 things, what would you change?
Mm.
And if you give them that many, then they will usually do it and they're usually taken aback. But I try to never leave a conversation without getting feedback. And I usually say, if you were to make it different, what would you do? And some of our biggest design features, even on our white stone diffuser, I can pinpoint the dinner party on a New Year's when I asked a couple, what would you change? And they told me a design feature that we then implemented and was pivotal to the brand and our success. And so just, yes, that's nice. And the compliments are nice. And, you need those because it's really hard to build a business. So make sure to feel that, right? And then ask for what you can do better. Yeah. And
And
that
are
makes people
you
feel like you care.
Yeah. Oh, and God, you know what? As founders, like we do care. We do want to know that honest advice. It's just how do you extract that? And were you having, it sounds like you were speaking with friends who also had the product one-on-one conversations. Were you getting that feedback in more structured ways, or is it really just like get a one-on-one FaceTime with customers and then that's the best way to get that great feedback?
Yeah, so we did a few different ways. I do 5 customer calls every month that our customer experience team sets up. So usually a range of superstar fans that, have purchased since 2018 and own 40 diffusers, and because you can learn a lot from them. And then people that have maybe had a poor experience or the product didn't quite stack up. And then, people that are maybe new customers that did have a good experience. I do 5 of those every month. And I ask a lot of questions. And
Yeah,
I'm really
how
grateful for
often
those
does that actually
conversations.
how often does that actually change something you're working on or your approach? Is it more just like a check-in, or do you actually like take that information and go and make a change in the business?
Oh, I mean, I look for trends. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's validating an assumption. So, but it is, again, it's nuanced. So this one customer I was speaking with a few months ago referenced not wanting lavender and everything, and that's why she discovered us. She referenced a specific influencer that was a theme that had been coming up in other areas of the business. So that was like, okay, validated that investment. Then she talked about already thinking about what her home was going to smell like for the holidays.
Mm.
And that validated the seasonality that we see in our marketing and in our purchasing. And so I think I go between validating assumptions that we have with, obviously if there's a product issue, something's leaking or something,
Yeah.
can we jump on it?
Yeah.
But it's different. And sometimes they take you in trajectories that you don't expect. I don't know. Do you do customer calls or?
Yeah, I've done a few. I don't do them as regularly as I should, but I'm doing a lot at the moment as we're figuring out what like the next step looks like in the business. This is another question that I have for you as well. It's like, where do you think that there's white space, and is there white space still in this better for you category? Like, where is that white space in consumer? It just feels like there's so much out there at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, we are betting on air care as the final frontier of better for you,
Yeah.
right? So we've seen better for you in skincare, in hair care, in personal care, in home, in laundry, in cleaning, and so we are here to be category leaders in better for you home scenting and air care. But I don't know. I feel like I would kind of push on your statement because yes, it is easy to start, but it's hard to finish.
Mm.
And I believe that grit and just the ability to outwork anyone has gotten me to where I am today. And we didn't have more money than anyone. We didn't have more connections. I can just simply outwork
Yeah.
most people.
Yeah.
So I feel like sometimes it's just grit and timing and luck. Right. So I don't believe that you always need that perfect business plan. I don't have one. I don't know. Do you have a business plan? I don't.
I'm shaking my head.
It changes. I mean,
It
after
changes.
COVID, like who can plan longer than 6 months out? Like this is nuts. The whole world is different. So
100%.
I'll go up against an MBA any day.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So I also wanted to dig into what you're saying about the affiliate program and get into the nuts and bolts of how that works. It sounds like a lot of your affiliates are customers, people who have purchased the brand, and then you
Who
have
start as customers.
they
Yeah.
start as customers. Okay. And then so what does that kind of flow look like? People are customers, they leave a review, and then you respond with a with a referral code? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so it starts out usually, so there's two different tiers. Now we have a little more cash, so sometimes we reach out to special people now, but most of it is still inbound. So it's a customer that our customer experience team, which we call our wellness concierge, they are the coolest team in the company. They're just like fun, they're interesting, they so know what's up, they're just so on it. I'm really proud of that team, and I love getting to sit with them in the office. They'll be in conversation with someone, the person reaches out, they're excited. We usually gift product and then see how that post performs. And we use a program called Grin. I don't know if you know Grin or have used it. We really love it. And that lets us see how certain creative is performing. And then they can fill out an online application, and we have a tiered system with different discount codes and revenue availability that they can make. And so you kind of tier throughout the program. And so as you get to a certain tier, you get to be part of launches, and we send you a package before. And it's just been a really neat way to, again, get feedback from those people. We seed them early product before it's released. They become part of our launch campaigns. And I don't know about you, but digital has been such a horrible landscape to navigate the last year. I'm going to just go for it and say it's been rough.
Yeah.
And so being able to understand and use user-generated content completely authentically, and to have had those relationships that we built. I mean, we're still figuring it out. I think content and advertising is changing. It feels like on a week-by-week basis, as attention spans shorten and our desire for advertising changes at a light speed pace. But that has been an area of the business that has been helpful to us.
So,
but we're still cracking the code.
What do you look for in a what makes like a good affiliate?
I think to be able to authentically speak to the brand, I think someone that likes the product and knows it, that knows who their audience is. Lots of times our best performing content isn't something we would maybe put on Vitruvi's Instagram feed, but they know who their community is, and they speak authentically to them. And so I think that's been the biggest interesting differentiator for me. Like, it's not all content. Some of it is not going back on our feed. Some of it's just for their channels. So just giving people the product and then letting them make what they feel is best.
When you were just talking then about, digital is such a difficult landscape at the moment, and I agree, and I'm hearing this again and again and again from different founders. And something that people are kind of saying is that they're kind of turning to partnerships and brand partnerships again in a way that they weren't for a few years. And I'm just wondering if you are, leveraging brand partnerships, if you've done anything that's kind of worked, or are you you're more focused on that affiliate avenue?
No, I mean, trying to acquire customers right now is very hard.
Yeah.
So we are, and we are looking at like top of funnel. How are we acquiring customers? How are we reaching new audience? So we are exploring out of home, things, and direct mail again.
Yes,
and
you are the third person to say
really,
mail.
yeah. And it's kind of nuts to me that I can know where someone lives that went to our website, but I'm not allowed to send an email, like an image to their phone.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole other can of worms though.
Yeah.
But so, yeah, I mean, direct mail, we have a strategic brand partnership launching in the fall. That's just like fingers crossed. I hope that, this helps us acquire more customers, but we're really just like trying to build more people into the funnel so that we can, advertise to them later. And are you seeing that at your business or with other businesses?
Yeah, and I'm hearing this a lot, that people are just, as digital ads become more expensive and more limited in what you can do as well, it's kind of like, okay, well, how do we acquire new users? A lot of people are really like doubling down on TikTok that I speak to as well. There's a lot of partnerships and also sampling programs. That's something else that I'm hearing a bit as well. Do you do any sampling?
Yeah. No, we don't. We haven't done it formally, but we are working to kick that off. We are also launching a loyalty program for the first time as well.
Oh, amazing. Awesome. And then, okay, so we've got to like wrap up kind of soon, but I wanted to also kind of understand like where you sit in the business now. Like, what is your superpower? What is your area of expertise? Or are you across everything at the moment?
Oh no, I don't think anyone should ever be across
Mm-hmm.
everything, but I care about everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm definitely not an expert. Where my area of focus is right now is our marketing and our acquisition, how we're speaking to customers, product development, and obviously business development. So, but we have an incredible VP of marketing that comes to us from almost a decade at Herschel, and she's leading the charge there, and she's incredibly talented. So I just get to work with awesome people
Yeah.
now
Well,
and learn a ton,
amazing.
and then always try to tie it back to the customer.
And then the last question that I ask everyone who comes on the show is for a resource. It could be a book, a podcast, something that's kind of helped you as a leader and as you've been growing your business.
Um, yeah, I would say The Hard Thing About Hard Things is an incredible book. Have you read
Yes,
it?
that's a great one.
Yeah. And I read it when we started and I didn't quite hit. And then I read it like last year and I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
yes. And then I think one of the best, Stephen Covey, this like 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, I think is really powerful and something I grew up reading. And then I read a lot of Zen books, and The Art of Communicating is one of my favorite books. I can send a link to it, and just what it means to communicate, how we show up for people, and the power of authentic communication and active listening. And it's more of a person-to-person thing, but business is people and relationships. So I think that would probably be my 3.
You talked about the 7 habits of highly effective people. Are you like, what does your routine look like? Are you really structured? Do you have a very structured morning routine? Do you wake up early? Like, what does it look like?
I'm super boring. I don't have I drink a lot of water. I don't know, like, and a lot of coffee. So I wake up early as I can. Like, I have no super smoothie. I don't drink lemon
Mm-hmm.
water in the morning. Just have a normal glass of water, like a normal human.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, have some coffee and get after it. Yeah. There's no
Okay, what
secret sauce here.
I need to know what time you wake up in the morning. And people are probably like, this is a really boring question, but I'm someone who's very much trying to be a morning person and constantly in my life, like trying to be more of a morning
Mhm.
person, because everyone I hear from who is doing really well wakes up early. What time do you wake up in the morning and what time do you start work?
Okay, so I probably wake up at 6:30.
Mm-hmm.
And I start working immediately after. I don't do
Yeah.
a meditation. I don't
Yeah.
do a morning workout. I just open up my freaking laptop
Yeah.
and start working.
Yeah.
It's probably so bad, but it's the program. It's
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 working.
real life. It has
Yeah.
been a struggle though, because my partner is not a morning person. So now I stay up really late and I get up early. So I'm trying to
Mm.
find a balance there.
Yeah, that's a tricky
Yeah.
one. Sarah, thank you so much for all of your advice. It's been awesome to hear about how you're growing Vitruvi and you've got so many great insights. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
I appreciate you having me. I could talk to you forever.